I'd like to welcome you to this Sable International webinar today, where we'll be introducing a really unique investment based in Santarém in Portugal. Just by way of introduction, my name's Andy Rissick. I'm sure many of you know who Sable International is, but I'm the Group International Director. I've been with Sable for 14 years now, and I'm delighted to be emceeing this event today. So just a little bit of housekeeping. We will have a Q&A at the end for anybody who has questions for our guest, Eduardo. And if we don't manage to get to your question, then we're very happy to also set up a consultation or a Teams meeting at any stage in future to discuss the project. So I'm going to keep moving. Just a little bit about Sable International. We're an international professional services business. We've been going since 1995, so coming up for 30 years quite soon. And we deal in the sort of cross-border professional services space, assisting people with investing abroad, all the financial services around that, tax planning, structuring. We can help people move money. We do immigration. We help many, many people move to the UK, Europe, US, Australia. And more recently, during the COVID years, we set up a Sable Study Abroad, where we help several children after secondary schooling to go and study internationally. And then last but not least, for the last 2 or 3 years, we've built up a really nice property investment business. And that's very much what we'll be talking to you all about today. So just a little bit about Sable. We have offices in Australia, the UK, where our head office is, 3 offices in South Africa and various offices throughout Africa, and then 1 down in the Antipodes in Melbourne in Australia. So today I'm going to be introducing you to Eduardo Fonseca, who's been a long-time partner of Sable International's. We've been working with Eduardo and his team since as far back as 2015, when we were doing golden visa investments with Eduardo for our clients, predominantly South Africans, who were looking for the golden visa in Portugal as a plan B. I think it's important to note that what we're talking about today doesn't qualify one for a golden visa. This is uniquely a property investment that we're talking about today. So Eduardo, welcome on board. I think this is probably the 4th or 5th one that we've done.
Thank you, Andy. And thank you, Sable, for the opportunity to once again share our projects with you and your audience. It has been, as you say, a long-term partnership that I believe it generated quite good results to your clients and to us all along the time. So just as a quick introduction about Outstanding Investment Properties, we are a real estate investment group that is focused to develop real estate investment solutions in Portugal. I am Portuguese, born and raised, and our main company is based in Portugal as well. We developed quite a few projects for the Golden Visa purpose, which is basically, they are basically a real estate investment project as well, but they would fit the Golden Visa criteria. But along the time, we have been fortunate to have the interest of old clients to approach us to invest with us in pure real estate investment. And now that Golden Visa property-wise is gone, we started to develop some projects, and this is the first one, just for the purpose of real estate investment for someone that doesn't want to have hands-on, dealing with architects, with the contractors, with municipalities, and do it with a trustworthy partner with the background that we have in the market already, in a way that is comfortable for the investors, leaves much of the risk to ourselves. We will basically be partner with the investors in the projects, and we all have the same end goal, which is to make a successful project. Here we are. Nomad, it's a brand that we developed in order to create student accommodation and digital nomads accommodation projects, because we believe it's one segment in the real estate market that there are significant opportunities due to demand and scarcity, not just for students, but also for this new trend of digital nomads. And what's happening in the market so far is that you have really big funds, American, Belgian, French, doing huge student accommodation projects in Portugal and already reselling some of those projects that are already operating for a few years. But then you have no solutions for smaller investors that want a piece of this pie, to want to participate in this opportunity with all the benefits. And the benefits is basically a steady and higher than average regular income and a good premium at the end as an exit strategy. So going further in the project, how's the opportunity structured? So first of all, the Portuguese universities, they don't have real campus, especially with accommodation. So all the accommodation for the students is found privately by the students and their parents. Has a father of two. I know the difficulty of that. In Évora, which is one of the district capitals in Portugal, our company is already managing around 70 bedrooms for student accommodation. So we have the experience not only to manage, but we know the challenge that every year the parents face trying to find a bedroom for their sons. Then there's this digital nomad trend supported by some specific visas that the Portuguese government created in order to attract especially tech people and startup and new venture projects to Portugal. And these digital nomads, they do look to stay at a comfortable place with a full service for a few months, and then they move on. So there's an opportunity to fit the kind of infrastructure that the student accommodation has to the digital nomads as well. And that's what we develop with this project, trying to be creative, innovative, and basically trying to match the market demand. At the same time, these kind of residencies where we can host students and digital nomads, they usually have friends that want to visit them. And it's always nice if they can stay at the same place where their resident friends stay. So we developed this project and this concept, combining a pure residence with a hostel. And the hostel, basically, it's where they can rent bedrooms or beds by the night in dorms or bedrooms by staying in the same building, but with totally privacy, totally independent entrances, but making the convenience for the residents to host their friends and to welcome their friends. And the two things together can really help to boost the profitability of the entire project, that in this way it's not supported entirely in one business. It's basically supported by two different revenue streams. The first location, well, in Lisbon and Porto, the big cities, that's where you have the big funds investing in student accommodation residencies with thousands of bedrooms. They are huge investments. But then you have these opportunities in district capitals in Portugal, all of them with universities, but smaller populations. And the big opportunity is that the real estate in these smaller towns is much more valuable in terms of the value opportunity than in Lisbon or Porto. While at the same time, the rents that we can generate from the bedrooms, from the residents, from the hostel, are very similar to the ones that are paid in Porto and Lisbon. So the two things combined really help us to generate higher yields when doing projects in these towns. Santarém, it's a place we know very, very well. It's about 70 kilometers north of Lisbon. It's a 20,000 people town, again, capital district. And it has two universities, a private one and a public one, all together with around 5,500 students. It's a countryside area, very safe, very pleasant. Also with an historical city center. It's the Portuguese capital of Gothic. So not only has students, also has tourism to attract people to town that will help to bring guests to the hostel. Finally, it has a big event infrastructure, an event hub that every month welcomes big fairs, like the Portuguese Agricultural Fair is the biggest one. And that means every month, thousands of people looking for accommodation in Santarém. And there's only 2 hotels in town. So again, the opportunity for spaces like hostels are very valuable. Location wise, again, it's very close to Lisbon, but it's an intersection of motorways from north to the south of the country, and another one from east to west. So logistically, it's very well served. In Santarém, the building that we acquired 1 year ago, and since then we've been licensing and developing the project. The building is right in the historical city center. It's a very central location that allows students to walk to the universities, at least some of the polos, but they're never more than 10 minutes away from the other polos of the university. So very convenient, historically located. It's a building from the 1940s. It's in a very well condition, considering the age. Structural wise, it's in perfect condition. It has a really nice and spacious areas, around 2,400 square meters, spread through 5 different floors. And it fortunately has already 2 independent entrances that will allow us to make the residency and the hostel something totally separate, although you can communicate inside the building. It's that yellow building that you can see in the corner of the building, of the picture. Of course, then more information and full pictures of the building will be available in other meetings for someone that really has more interest to know more. So to resume what I've been talking about the project, we will refurbish an old building, an existing building in this historic city center of Santarém. That building will comprise co-living residence for students and digital nomads. These people, these students, these guests will rent bedrooms for the year or for at least 3 months or 4 months. And then we will have a hostel for backpackers, pilgrims, tourists that can rent a bed or a bedroom for the night. And of course, the building will have plenty of spaces for staff, for management, for storage, also for enjoyment. There will be a gym in the top floor. There's lounges, kitchens. Everything that a residence of this type needs to make a very comfortable and enjoyable experience for the guests. So if we cut the profile of the building, the first 2 floors are for the hostel, and then the upper floors for the residents. The hostel will have a total of 49 beds. It will have reception, lounge, library, living, dining room, communal for anyone that wants to cook a meal there, kitchen, of course, laundry. We'll have a vending machine box. So typical hostel. And the maximum, the biggest dorm has 6 beds. So all the other ones have a maximum of 4 beds. And we have 5 double rooms and 1 single bedroom. Then the upper floors, so first, second, and third floor, again, with an independent entrance, that's where the residence is. So this guests will live here all year long. We'll have 1 studio for 2 guests with a private kitchenette for someone that wants to have more privacy. Then we have 7 double bedrooms, 29 single bedrooms, total of 45 beds. Each floor, not one for the entire residence, so each floor will have a lounge, workspace, dining room, kitchen, laundry. And then on the top floor, we'll have a lovely gym with a fantastic view. And there are terraces on the first floor and the top floor of the residence. The residence, if someone is staying in a bedroom in the first floor, they can easily join their friends that are having a meal on the third floor. So these 3 floors have communication, and it's like a community that can enjoy each space. So it's not this lounge for the first floor guests and another lounge for the other guests. No, it's open to every resident. In summary, 52 bedrooms, 94 beds, 4 lounges and workspaces, 4 kitchens and dining rooms, 1 gym, and then lounging rooms, office, storage, and so on. Some pictures. So these are computer graphic images that we prepared for the project. So we can see here the facade of the building. We can also see the dining room and kitchen of the first floor. That's exactly the same on the second floor. The layout will be the same. This is the lounge and kitchen of the hostel. The lounge of the first floor. This is a beautiful room with double high ceiling. I didn't mention, but just as a side note, so the building originally was an eye clinic, and in the 1940s, the doctor that named the clinic lived there. So this was his living room. It's beautiful in brilliant condition, and we are preserving as much as possible the architectural features of the building, like we do on all our projects. The picture on the right side, it's an example of the dorms of the hostel. So all the beds will be custom made. They'll have lockers so that the guests can have some storage, safe private storage area for themselves. And it's still spacious. It's not something clumsy or too tight. This is the lounge of the top floor. One of the bedrooms in the top floor as well. In the top floor, the bedrooms have a small balcony, each of them. And on the right, we have the studio. So as I mentioned, it can accommodate 2. All bedrooms, all studios are with private bathrooms. So we have common bathrooms for the dorms in the hostel, but in the residence, all units have private bathroom. This one also has a kitchenette for some, a couple or some friends that want some more privacy inside the residency. And the gym, so the gym is on the top floor, also with a balcony, as you can see, and the views are actually quite nice all over the building. So investment-wise, how are we structuring and inviting investors to participate in this project? We are welcoming up to 24 co-investors with a 250K investment each one. This investment, this 250K, because you're actually buying a share of the property, we'll be owning 1/30 of the property. We're not investing in a company or an SPV, and we didn't do that in order to eliminate some tax layers. So this is the most tax efficiency way to invest in this project. And so the 250K includes all taxes. So it's not 250K plus taxes or plus something else. No, it's 250K and that's it. Each slot will own 1/30 of the building. This means that we're valuing the property at 7.5 million, which is over 3,000 euros per square meter, with everything included, all equipment, furniture, the kitchen, it's everything. So if we take the taxes, if we take the furniture, that means that the property itself, it's being valued at 2,700 per square meter. This is value-wise for me as a real estate investor is one of the criteria that I pay attention the most is the price per square meter. And here the value is there. It's tough to have a finished building cheaper than this, regardless where you're doing a project in Portugal. We ourselves as promoter will retain a minimum of 20% of the project. So we can retain a higher share, really depends on the achieving the 24 co-investors or not, which in this case, we are only missing 5. So we're doing this webinar with 5 investment slots available. We have international investors in the project, but this is our project that also attracted most Portuguese investors. Out of the 24, we have 7 slots that were taken by Portuguese investors. we have actually high-profile Portuguese investors, really well-known persons and businessmen in Portugal. And some of the investors have taken more than one slot, and that is possible as well. So what do you get as an investor? So first of all, well, we'll get that to the next slide. The investment is not done all at once, but you get a 10 years lease. And on 10 years lease, you will be paid 6% on year one of rent, of the management of operation of the residency. And then the rent will increase 3% per annum. So 6.18 on year two, and so on, and so on, and so on. And you don't have to manage anything. So you're not investing in the management company. Your investment is in the building. You have no commercial risk. You have a real estate asset which is generating some rent for you. In terms of the potential gains, so as I mentioned, you start with 6% on year one, which is the rent is the blue lines that you can see there. And on the 10 years lease, out of the 250K investment, you make around 172K return to yourself. So this is an average IRR of 6.88% per annum. But then you have what most of the existing investors are looking at, which is the exit strategy and what you can make in 10 years or 8 or 9 once we sell the building. And that exit strategy, it's basically to sell the property along with other UNOMAD residencies, because our goal is in 10 years to develop 5 residencies. We want this one to be the first one, but then we have other towns where we want to open similar residencies. And this means that in 10 years, we have a real estate portfolio that is big enough to get the interest of these real estate funds. And assuming that we have 5% per annum capital growth, this means that we can sell the property in 10 years at around 12 million euros. So the result means that the capital gain plus the rent will lead you to an average IRR of over 13% per annum in a 10 years period. So basically, if we achieve to sell the property in 10 years at 12 million euros, you will, out of the 250K, then you get almost 330K back on top of that. Honestly, this exit strategy, it's already happening. Even last month, it happened in Portugal. One of these funds that are already developing some big residencies, in this case was one in Covilhã and Braga, 2 other Portuguese towns, and they sold the 2 residencies together to another real estate fund for the amount of 30 million. So it's a very it's a type of product, type of real estate that once it's being managed and has already a track record, it is very attractive for these big funds, and that will help us all to that exit strategy. Regardless of that, you have an average of 6.88 rent. Well, about ourselves, I already gave a quick introduction, but important is to know that we've been here for 10 years. We have amazing rating as a company. We are on a debt-free company, and we've been doing this for some time, especially in student accommodation, as I mentioned, in Évora and towns similar to Santarém. We are already managing 70 student accommodation and very successfully. We have 100% occupancy every year, and we already create a name to ourselves in terms of the renewal. So when someone moves out, there's another student, a friend that moves in. Timeline. So we started this project early this year. We want to sign all the promissory contracts with the investors until the end of the year. The 2 things together, so the reservation fee and the first investment, means that's a 100K payment. So to start, as to enter the project, we expect to start the refurbishment in January, and this means that in September we should be 9 months, so almost halfway through the refurbishment. So that will be another 100K in 2025, so September or October 2025. And then the works completion, August 2026, July, August, the remaining 50K. And then you start getting the rent when the residency opens for business to be managed in September 2026. So this is our projected timeline for the project. So quick highlights. It's a liquid asset. So you're buying real estate, although it is co-ownership. You own a share of the property that you can sell at any time. You have this expectation of really good long-term gains once we resell with the exit strategy that I mentioned to you. It's important to explain that every investor that participates in the project right at the beginning will sign a co-owners agreement saying that everybody would accept the future sale at this price of 12 million, so that there's no dispute or anything in the future. Imagine that some investors want to sell, others don't want to sell. So this way, everybody knows up front what's to be expected. And either you can agree or not, but if you're participating, you will be agreeing with those terms, which are perfectly reasonable terms in terms of value and future resale. Our track record, I mean, Andy can talk about us better than we. We always pay our rents to our investors. We have over 50 projects done with Sable, and we always committed and comply with our obligations toward the investments. It's a real estate investment, so it has this level of security. And one thing that it's important for us, because we also are investors, is inflation proof. That's why we increase the rent 3% per annum. If we have a chance then on a one-to-one meeting with some of you, I can go through more details of our business plan so that you can understand how we're generating the income in order to pay the rent and still make money for ourselves, because we will be owning 20% of the building and we will be managing the building as well. Finally, I mentioned the view, and this is the view. This is no fake. This is the view since the ground floor of the building. All windows are facing the Tagus River. So this is the river that, if you visit Lisbon, you know that big river in Lisbon, though this is a little bit more upstream. It's in the countryside with lots of vineyards, olive roads, tomatoes. So it's a very pleasant and beautiful region to live in. And it's basically this. I think I approach most of the topics. And yeah, I don't know if you want me to go through any other detail.
No, Eduardo, I think thanks very much. I think that was a very nice, concise sort of summary of the investment. Just a little bit from my side, as I said earlier, and you've said we've worked together for a long time. I think one of the things that we as a business really try and encourage clients to do is to work with the right partners on the ground in a foreign country. The minute you put a border between yourself and your investment, there's all sorts of risk. I mean, there's currency risk, then there's all sorts of other delivery risk and management risk. Very difficult to manage properties 10,000 Ks away. And yeah, we've got well over 60 investors with Eduardo who are very happy. In fact, one of our clients, who was one of the very early investors, worked for R&B Properties in Joburg, and he said one of the most pleasant experiences that he had in Portugal has been dealing with Eduardo and the property side of things. So that is a good testament to outstanding investment properties. I think one of the things, this is a really simple investment. As a foreign investor in Portugal, one would need a non-resident tax number. That's something that we at Sable International can help set up. It's very easy to do. And I'm not even sure if you need a foreign bank account. It would be helpful having a Portuguese bank account, but I know that this is not an investment that's qualifying for any residency. So I assume, Eduardo, you'd be able to pay the rent to the investors if they had an offshore bank account, for instance, a euro account.
Yes, absolutely. And so to do the investment, you really don't need to have a Portuguese bank account.
Okay. That's brilliant.
I just like to highlight one profile of the investors that we have so far. Basically, investors are looking at this as a portfolio diversification. So it's real estate in Eurozone, it's paid in euros, it has the features that you already seen. And for an Eurozone real estate investment project, the returns are actually higher than average. And in the type of market that is now being developed. So this student accommodation and digital nomads, it's a huge opportunity that we're just scratching the surface. That's why we want to develop this brand, Nomad, with more residencies and become a significant management company in the student accommodation and digital accommodation world.
Good. Well, thanks very much for that. I think just a bit from my side, I think it is a fantastic rand hedge for our South African investors. I know that we've got a couple of potential people in the UK who would also be interested. Again, a good currency hedge, and I think also just a very nice asset class. I wouldn't be suggesting that you go and mortgage your primary residence to make this investment, but certainly as a diversification, I think it's really interesting. Portugal as a destination country, Sable International are still very big believers in Portugal. We're heavily invested there. We have a business in Portugal. I actually personally live 6-7 months a year in Portugal. And just from what I see there, even despite the fact that the government has made it really difficult for people to move there for tax reasons, and also real estate no longer qualifies for the golden visa, we're still seeing great interest in people moving to Portugal. I think with all the uncertainty that's happening globally, people are being sort of destabilized in their home countries. Lots of Americans moving to Portugal. There's an enormous amount of foreign investment and positivity around the Portuguese market in general. So, that's just looking at it from a country point of view. I think this is a specific asset class. Student accommodation is always a good investment. And Portugal certainly lacks that. So to be coming in with a building of this quality at just over 3,000 euros a square meter fully furnished is actually, just from a pure asset just standing there, I don't think you could actually build it cheaper than that. So from our side, we're very excited about it. And I think, from our side, that's really all. We don't seem to have any questions. I think, Eduardo, it was a very nice, clear presentation. And
thank you
to all of you who are viewing, we just invite you to reach out to us, and I'll just share our details with you now. So get hold of us on portugal@sableinternational.com, or if you do want to phone, our number at our office in Cape Town is at the bottom of the slide there. But once again, Eduardo, thanks very much for making yourself available.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
And thanks to all of you who attended, and I hope you enjoyed it. We'll hopefully be connecting soon.
Thank you.